North American Open. And I am Gillyweed. This is AnnaProsser Robinson, my co-caster, and we are very excited to be bringing this to you guys. Sorry for the technical issues, but I think we are set up. I'm going to quickly switch over to the picks. We have already gotten through most of them, and sorry about that, but really quickly, it looks like we will have Eclipse picking up the Lost Vikings, Jaina, Brightwing, Muradin, and Tassadar. And then the Kappa Wolves are going to have Kael'thas, Anubarak, Vala, Johanna, and Malfurion. So these will be the picks for this first game. It is a best of 3. We'll make sure that we can bring you the draft on the next game. We're just having a few technical issues. Anna, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing well, Gilly. This is just kind of the way it goes, I guess, when you have a really exciting tournament like this. The North America Open is part of the road to BlizzCon, and we're really excited to be part of it. Looking at these teams, just trying to get a sense of what we're looking at here. Fairly balanced, but I do see a little more damage on the side of Kappa Wolves, so we may see a little more aggression from them, but we do have both Tassadar and Brightwing on the side of Eclipse, and we've seen Brightwing showing so strong lately, both as a healer as well as a laner, so definitely not one draft that sticks out as the stronger one. What do you think?
Yes, I totally agree. We've got Eclipse who are going to go for more of a sustainable, being able to outlast those long team fights composition with the Tassadar and the Brightwing. In addition, they also have a lot of power in lanes because Brightwing and Tassadar are both really good at being solo in lane, but then they also have the Lost Vikings too, who are, of course, the greatest in terms of sitting in lane and getting experience. The Kappa Wolves, like you mentioned, they've got the Vala and the Kael'thas, but they're going to be doing more of a double tank, so they're going to be really looking to control the fight with lots of stuns and roots, and maybe trying to get a pick and a takedown that way. So I just want to make sure, do we have the stream going this time?
It has not shown up for me yet, Gilly, but I'm not sure what that means for us.
Well, they're asking if the casters are ready. It was a 2-minute delay. It does say, okay, video is live, so we are good. We are very excited to be bringing this to you guys.
Oh, hooray!
Technical issues, but I think we are set live, and I am going. We have already gotten through most
There we are.
And there we go. And sorry for that quick voiceover accidental, but all right, all the technical issues are taken care of. We got it live. We're going into the game. It's going to be here. So good to see you guys. It's so good to be casting these. And Anna, you mentioned that. Did you mention that there are 90 teams? Did we mention that yet?
No, I don't think so. I think we did on our first try, but we haven't done it this time. So go ahead.
Well, yeah, guys, there are 90 teams today who are trying to get a spot into the America's Championship. So what will happen is there will be 3 qualifiers, one in June, one in July, one in August, and through that there will be 5 teams that will get to go up into the America's Championship. There will also be a spot each in that championship with one team from Latin America, one team from Southeast Asia, and one team from Australia and New Zealand. So out of those 8 teams, then 2 teams will get to go on to BlizzCon, compete at the biggest Heroes of the Storm for sure competition to date. And it's going to be really cool to see which of these teams get to make it out of this first of all, but then get to go on hopefully into BlizzCon.
Yeah, it's really cool to think about what we saw last year at BlizzCon in terms of, we had a show match, we had pro show match tournaments as well as, kind of influencer or celebrity show match tournaments. This year, this is the real thing. They're actually making us a framework for esports already for Heroes of the Storm right out of the gate, with the game only having launched officially very recently. So as an esports fan, I'm very excited about that and excited to start off with this first game.
I am as well. I'm hearing that your settings are just a little high, so I'm going to take you down just a little bit. Let me know if that works, guys. But let's go ahead and introduce these teams, as we do have Eclipse in blue with How Nguyen. Sorry, I always butcher that.
I think it's Hunwen.
Hunwen? All right.
I think so.
Playing the Vikings. We've got LZ Gamer on Tassadar. Killick playing is that in there? That's
Muradin.
Sunshine will be on Jaina, and playing Little Brightwing will be CG GG.
because CGGG likes to confuse casters' mouths. But that's okay, we're up for the challenge. In red, of course, we have the Kappa Wolves. It's going to be Big Impact playing Kael'thas, Visceral on Vala, Aka Face or AKA Face will be on Malfurion, Yell Cow will take Johanna, and Huckfu will play a Nubarak.
Poor Olaf was not prepared for the 3-member squad up on top that came from the Kappa Wolves, but that's alright. Remember that the Lost Vikings are 3 heroes in 1, and each one only counts as a quarter of a death. It's not too big of a deal in terms of experience. We've got 3 members, looks like, on top, pushing very quickly down on those structures. But in the mid for Eclipse, they're going to be running back and forth between the mid and the bot, trying to pick up a possible takedown by catching somebody a little bit out of position.
Yeah, I really like these 2 squads that we have going in the top and bottom lane. As you can see here in the top with Kappa Wolves, they've got Johanna, who is just this mega escapable tank right now. They've got Malfurion, who can do tons of healing, and then they've got Kael'thas, who does lots of damage. And I think that Eclipse is realizing how dangerous that mix can be all together, and they're going to come defend there. But in the bottom, we also have Tassadar and Brightwing, who we mentioned being great laners as well as huge supports, and they're laning with Jaina, who does lots of damage as well, so able to protect her. So we have 2 kind of, I don't know, siege squads going on in the top and bottom lane.
Yeah, that's a really good point to make, and something else is, as we get closer to these level 4 talents, Eclipse has the potential to really become crazy good siege squad, like you mentioned here on bottom, because Brightwing and Tassadar can both pick up the promote talent. And with that, they're going to be making minions do more damage and be tankier as well. So with that, plus the damage that Jaina can throw on structures, they really, that's something that the Kappa Wolves are going to have to take into consideration, because it could get out of hand for them.
Absolutely. We see that a lot of the members of Kappa Wolves decided to abandon the top lane and go down here toward the middle to help Huckfu, who is slow until burrowing away. That little love bug will go and grab some health at the well. But we do see a lot of rotation out of Kappa Wolves, so they're really mobile, able to move around, and are looking to take advantages where they find them. Eclipse doing the same thing, and we actually see CGGG and Sunshine looking to take these siege giants here at before 3 minutes on the map.
They've both got... They've taken out these giants, and with Brightwing having Bribe, it's very possible that they could try to go over and steal the other giants as well, these forward giants that are more on the side of the Kappa Wolves. But for now, she and Tassadar did go ahead and pick up those promote talents, so we're going to start seeing those swirls around the minions as they are. There it is right there. It's going to become tankier, a lot more difficult for Visceral here to try to deal with in lane.
Absolutely. Have we taken a look at the talents? Do we see anything that's out of the ordinary or that we should point out for our viewers here?
We do have Envenom on Jaina, so looking to be able to deal a little bit more extra damage here in the early game. Kael'thas went ahead and went for Gathering Power, so he's going to be looking at trying to stay alive, because every time he can get a hero takedown himself and not die, he will be able to gain stacks and make him stronger. He did have a takedown on Jaina. She will be right back up, as the respawn timers are pretty quick here in the early game.
Absolutely. Did want to point out that, as you mentioned earlier, we do have promote on both Tassadar and Brightwing, so the siege squad will be in full force if they want. They can also use that to make sure that lanes are pushing in their absence as well. So a lot of attention to making sure that there's lane pressure coming out of that team.
Yes, for sure. Vala also went with the multi-shot build, so is looking to be able to deal more area of effect damage instead of something that's a single target, which makes a lot of sense. They're up against those Lost Vikings, and they aren't up against something like a double tank composition like Kappa Wolves themselves are running. So it's a really good build to have in that instance. It's also very nice when trying to clear out lanes as quickly as possible, which Visceral is trying like mad to do versus these promoted minions.
We haven't talked a whole lot about the mechanic on this battleground either. This is, of course, Dragon Shrine, and we have this Dragon Shrine right here in the middle of the map that you've seen be activated a couple times. If a team can manage to grab both the top and the bottom shrines, they will channel to that middle, and then one of their team members can come grab this Dragon Knight, put on the suit, and wreak havoc upon buildings. So far, though, neither team has been able to do that, and it looks like we're going to have an engagement in the middle that may result in a pick that would allow one to finally take advantage of that mechanic.
Yeah, there's going to be a big condemn there from Johanna, but she's a little bit ahead of the rest of the team members, so she's going to try to back up there as well. Gillyweed getting very, very low, is going to have to step away. That Muradin, though, he gets healed up pretty quickly, so he will be able to continue to guard that Dragon Shrine too. Right now, both teams hold on to one shrine each. LZ Gamer on this Tassadar has a really favorable hero trait called Oracle that allows him to be able to hit it and see all around him, including around in those bushes. So that's really helping him and his teammates know when the rest of Kappa Wolves are trying to come in, because they've constantly been coming in from the bottom here through these bushes.
We do see actually that Hanwen was grouping up the Vikings at this point. Things are getting a little nastier and they want to have a little more strength. We saw them earlier spreading out to grab some experience, and of course both teams are still conscious of that, but having to move together to avoid getting picked off, as getting picked off would allow the other team the advantage in finally grabbing both shrines.
Both teams very, very close in experience and about to hit level 10 where they'll pick up their heroic abilities. I'm wondering what we will see from that Anubara. Probably the Locust Swarm, as it does add to the damage, and since they're double tanked, that's something that would be really favorable for them. There it is, Locust Swarm. Also Blessed Shield for Johanna, Tranquility for Malfurion, Strafe, and Phoenix for our damage dealers, Vala and Kael'thas. But what did Eclipse pick up?
Looks like Eclipse is going to go with Archon on Tassadar, Avatar for Muradin, Blink Heal for Brightwing, Water Elemental for Jaina, and Longboat Raid for the Vikings. Nothing too surprising there. Brightwing, especially with the Blink Heal, is going to be great for adding that healing, but we do have an engagement here around the bottom shrine. Looks like we have some very low health bars on the side of Eclipse, but they did not mind. They turned around, popped some heroic abilities, and they are going to push Akaface back off that bottom shrine. That is going to grab them the bottom shrine, and they are going to be able to take the Dragon Knight. Now the question is, will Hakfu be able to defend that middle shrine long enough to keep them from grabbing the Dragon Knight? I'm not sure he will, as we now have Sunshine, LZ Gamer, and Killick here to try to grab that objective.
Well, those beetles stopped it for a long time, but a really good Stormbolt from Killick was the deciding factor in being able to stop Hakfu long enough to be able to pick up the Dragon Knight. Now, they have grabbed it, but it's one thing to get it and another thing to be able to do serious damage with it. The Dragon Knight, especially the first one, is not super powerful. So they've got to be a little bit careful. The Kappa Wolves are doing a great job so far of answering to it, are right up here with it. But that does mean that Eclipse have tried to rotate to maybe pick up this fort. It's already halfway down, and they're going to stretch out the members of Kappa. This is a really good play with the Dragon Knight from Eclipse, as no matter what, they're going to get a push in somewhere, take down some churches, and get ahead in experience.
Yeah, later on in the game, we may have seen them wanting to just escort the Dragon Knight and use his power to its fullest, but at this point, because the Dragon Knight is a little bit weaker in the early game, they said, all right, that's fine. Sunshine, you hang out in the mid, you make sure that stays scary. We're going to send lots of members to the bottom and to the top of the map, and just make sure that we have pressure in all fronts. Looks like the bottom of the map is going to be a little bit scary, though, as CGGG, LZ Gamer, and Killick are on the run. Gilly, who's going to come out on top in this engagement?
Well, that is the beauty of Blink Hill right there, the heroic ability for Brightwing. She was caught out, she got stunned, but because you can use Blink Heal almost as a way of just keeping yourself alive, not even necessarily as a heal, but just as a way of positioning and being able to jump over to your teammates. You can even do it to minions. She was able to keep herself alive, and that means that with the amount of experience that they were able to pick up from those structures, Eclipse are now ahead in terms of experience, just slightly. They have their level 13 talents. Tassadar went ahead and picked up Prescience, so it's going to be very, very difficult to pick up the kill on him. But there is an engagement happening in the middle. Killick getting caught out. Now Rooted is going to be taken down. Here's the final shot on him as well. And now, without a tank, Eclipse are going to have to get away, but they're being pulled back in by that great condemned by Johanna. It won't quite be enough to get another takedown, but it is enough that they should be able to feel a little bit comfortable and maybe grabbing some merc camps, maybe even rotating down and getting a tower, something like that. Looks like they will need to defend the bottom, but they did pick up level 13.
Yeah, I want to give a huge shout out as well to that Phoenix from Big Impact. Kael'thas' heroic ability, Phoenix, does a great job of making a choke a very dangerous place to be, and I think we saw that happening. It was a huge part of what made that engagement turn out so well for Kappa Wolves. And I do want to say as well, they've been in a lot of situations where they have to choose between a couple bad options, meaning that they have pressure on all 3 lanes, or they have to defend, or they have to try and get a pick somewhere, and they've done a really good job of choosing what is the most important thing to defend, even though they've been a little bit on the back foot over the last couple minutes in this game.
Yeah, for sure, but they've definitely got time to make something happen here. And notice that Brightwing CGGG for Eclipse was doing a really great job of escorting these bruisers here to the fort on top of for Kappa Wolves, and that's something that she can do if ever she needs to get into a team engagement. She really quickly can phase shift in, and so you'll see her often just laning by herself, gathering experience, and then teleporting in when she's needed to either make sure that they have all 5 team members there for a full team fight, or maybe even make sure that they have more team members in an engagement than the other team. But looks like Kappa Wolves are coming in the middle. They're chasing Dana, and they really want to try to pick up a takedown here. Hal is going to have to move just slightly. He's going to go ahead and get into the longbow raid as the Vikings are getting very, very low. A great Phoenix once again from Kael'thas, though. And now, because the Viking, the longbow was taken down, that meant that all the Vikings were stunned, and they were able to pick up takedowns on them, as well as Muradin. This Malfurion has just done an amazing job with his roots all game.
Yeah, and it's really cool to see how Kappa Wolves are using the area that they fight in to their advantage. Like you mentioned, Condemn from Johanna has been a huge part of controlling the fights and putting them where they want to be. Phoenix has trapped people under this fiery rain from that bird. And also Malfurion's Tranquility there was a huge part of that team fight, keeping everyone alive in an area while they bunched up together underneath that Phoenix. So really cool CC coming out of Kappa Wolves in that fight. They will now grab the Dragon Knight and take down that middle tower and wall combination, and now they're headed toward the top lane. I think this is smart. They want to spread out the damage as much as they can while they're not being harassed by Eclipse, but Eclipse is coming to defend as soon as they can.
It's amazing to me the closeness of this game. The experience, both teams have picked up level 16 talents and are right neck and neck with that. Kappa Wolves, with taking out this fort, should be able to jump just slightly ahead in that regard, though, and maybe even a little bit more by picking up this tower as well. But they're even in structures now, too, with 1 fort down on each side. So a really good job in both teams of being able to come back even in terms of the fact that they might lose an engagement. They don't panic. They go take whatever they need to do, whether it's laning or taking Merc camps so that they can distract their opponents. And here we're going to see another engagement. All the game we're getting very low, but because he has that pressure, he's going to heal back up, and with Archon doing a lot of damage in an area of effect, but it should be over soon, and there is an amazing Tranquility from Akaface. Look how healthy everybody from the Kappa Wolves are. And now Brightwing is down, so are several of the Lost Vikings, and Muradin once again getting rooted. That poor guy has been in roots this entire game.
Man, the Phoenix play, I've mentioned this 3 times now, but I'm going to say it again. The Phoenix play has been so cool from Big Impact. What they did there was putting the Phoenix underneath the forts. So it forced Eclipse to not be able to fight underneath the safety of their own structures, and instead to move forward into the fight with the Kappa Wolves, which is exactly what they wanted, where they could hide underneath Malfurion's Tranquility. So really cool engagement there.
I wanted to note that Eclipse has done a really good job of, even if they lose an engagement so far, they have had such a good lane push because of the Lost Vikings and because of the Tacit Brightwing promote, that even when Kappa Wolves win an engagement, they've had to go back and push lanes. But that is not the case this time. All of the lanes are definitely pushed in favor of Kappa Wolves, and that is giving them some breathing room to go and try to turn the rest of the map red. They've now gone, they've picked up some Siege Giants, they're going to grab these Siege Giants as well. They're pinging the Bruisers, which will be up in 30 seconds. They're going for their own Bruisers even, and they are pulling ahead in experience now. If they can get to level 20 and pick up those Storm level talents, that's going to be a huge win for them.
Yeah, level 16 is notoriously scary for Kael'thas, so of course they are past that. They are going to be really scary in a team fight. And like you mentioned, the fact that we see Eclipse kind of focused on that lane push, to me signals that maybe they should have done a little bit more to push those lanes in the early game, gotten some more structures down, because at this point it's going to be hard for them to repel the Kappa Wolves, harder than it would have been earlier on.
I'm just noticing that the build that Jaina went for the Lingering Chill instead of the increased slow duration there at level 1, and then also Northern Exposure. So a little bit more of an old school Jaina build, but more focused on damage, that burst once again, instead of a control. And that makes sense. They've already got Muradin for stuns and Brightwing for the polymorph as well, but I'm wondering if maybe it would have helped them to be able to have that numbing blast where they could have held somebody down and been able to kill them, as the roots from Malfurion have been so beneficial in that regard for Kappa Wolves. But Kappa Wolves, the Malfurion also went for hardened focus, so as long as he's healthy, he's even going to be able to throw out more roots, more heals as well.
Really smart to have kept Brightwing in that top lane. I think that Eclipse is being very cognizant of the fact that they're behind in experience and wanting to make sure they've got some soak going, as well as, like I said, keeping their focus on that push composition that they started building. Brightwing did push out that top lane, but she got to the point where she said, okay, I've got to go back and help you guys. You're really losing here. You're moving back too far. She was able to transport herself very quickly back in and is now trying to push Kappa Wolves back. They are able to take down this keep and that turret. They're going to retreat happily with their bellies full of the dreams of their enemies.
The potential for zoning from Kappa Wolves is insane. Like you mentioned, they have Phoenix, and that's up every 40 seconds, and they've been using that so effectively in every fight. But they also have Strafe from Vala, which does a ton of damage, and if you can't instantly stop Strafe, then you've got to get out of it because it does a ton of damage. And there we saw Vala immediately dropped Strafe as the keep was getting low, and everybody from Eclipse just had to back off, and that enabled Kappa Wolves to pick up that keep. Now there will be catapults pushing down on that lane, and that's something that for the rest of the game Eclipse will have to be watching out for so that they don't start getting minions just straight on the core. Now Kappa Wolves are even pushing up top. They know they have Storm Talons. They picked them up a little bit ago, but their opponents are still only 19. They've got a ways to go for this.
Yeah, level 20 is so scary in terms of engagement, and really Eclipse is forced to defend here, even though they really are not looking forward to any kind of engagement with the Kappa Wolves in terms of that level lead. They are closing it up though. Like you said, they do have, who is that? Olaf. Kunwen has Olaf down here in the bottom lane soaking up experience, but it looks like he's actually going to go join the fight as well. This is the constant struggle of Eclipse saying, like, we really need to grab some experience, but we also would rather that you didn't kill our or take down our structures. So the battle here.
There again was the strafe, and Octane is going to go in with a burrow charge. Killick getting so low. They're trying to keep him up, but he will be taken down. And now another great stun on Jaina means that they've got 2 people taken down here, even 3 as Brightwing went down as well. And that is 60 seconds of respawn time, whereas everybody's still up and kicking for the Kappa Wolves. They are on the core. This will be game 1. Kappa Wolves are going to pick it up, and we'll be moving into game 2 very shortly.
Yeah, very interesting that we saw in the early game that Kappa Wolves was a little bit on the back foot because of the strong push power of Eclipse. But as we progressed into the later game, that aggression, that amount of damage that we were mentioning earlier on in the draft really played a part. They were able to then kind of gather up their weaponry and charge upon their opponent. And once that happened, once they kind of hit level 16, there wasn't too much doubt as to who was going to take this game, I think. What do you think, Gilly?
Yeah, I mean, when you get to level 16, you mentioned this, but when you get to level 16, Kael'thas's damage skyrockets. He's ended the game with 87k hero damage. The next closest one was 48k. And that was on Vala. And then 41k for Tassadar, LZ Gamer. So that is a lot of damage that he can put out. That's because his Living Bomb, when you go that Living Bomb build, it already does so much damage, but then you get the Fission Bomb, which makes it do more, and then on top of that, you get the Ignite, which is level 16. That's where the Flame Strike gives the Living Bomb as well. So you can conceivably put 3 Living Bombs on a row on somebody, and that does area damage to everyone around that person, but just basically takes that one person out. And you saw, I mean, Muradin is one of the strongest warriors in terms of tankiness, health pool, and he was getting taken down very, very quickly. So that's something that's very scary, and I'm wondering what Eclipse will do here. Will they try to first pick up Kael'thas themselves, or they just ban him out? I think they definitely need to answer to that somehow, and I don't know. It could be maybe they try to stop them from going the double tank, because the double tank, especially with the Anubarak, where you're able to just keep everybody off of Kael'thas, it makes it very difficult to go pick him up. That could be the case. I don't know. What do you think, Anna?
I was going to say the same thing, because we basically have a dual support composition versus a dual tank composition, and we saw how that affected the way the game worked. In the early game, I think the dual support composition was great, especially when those supports are such great laners, but in the late game, that dual tank was really, really strong, and like you said, prevented anyone from being able to get in and kill Kael'thas. The thing is that when you have dual supports, they can keep healing up a damage dealer, which they tried to do with Jaina, but if you can't control the crowd around you, then ultimately there's only so many times you can bring a person back from their demise, if you will.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it might be something where they might be, if they want to go that burst comp, they might want to look into the double warrior as well, just trying to zone, keep people off of your damage dealers so they can do what they need to do best, which is, of course, dealing damage. But we should see a change in tactics, just because we will be on a different battleground as well. So we'll see what they come up with. Shall we take a quick break and let these teams get into the battleground pick, and then when we come back, we'll be in game 2? Does that sound good to you?
Yeah, guys, these are best of threes. I don't know if we mentioned that before, but we will be doing best of threes all day, so Eclipse has the time to redeem themselves, and we will see if they do so in the next game.
Sounds good. See you guys very quickly in a bit.